Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have a chess miniature to share with you, only a 22 mover. On the white end, Yagiz, Kaan, Erdogmus playing against Peter Svidler. This is from their ongoing 6-game mini match. Classical format. This event pegged Clash of Generations. Now, in this game 4, which was played on July 27th, Erdogmus welcomes the Grunfeld defense. Now, if there's one player who maybe knows more about this opening than anyone else in the world, Peter Svidler, very good bet. Let's see how the young 14-year-old super talent from Turkey ends up dismantling this opening. His weapon of choice, Bishop G5. This is the Stockholm variation. Knight E4, pop quiz, what is your move? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, I've played Bishop G5 many times myself, and in response to Knight E4, I have never followed up how white does in this game. The most popular response is Bishop H4, maintaining a pin. You could also react to this threat by going to F4. You do have other options, however. In this game, we see C takes D. This is not a new move, but for me, it was new. Wasn't familiar with this one. Bishop is picked up, and now we have H4. This is white's way to get the knight back. The knight is out of squares. Now, Svidler does not want to see the H file open up, does not want to see the knight captured specifically on G5, so hops to the center, deflects the C3 knight away from its defensive D5, D5 picked up with tempo, counterpunch, queen needs to find a new home, and she goes back home. Now, the computer prefers a more active post. I believe with queen to D8, black wants to maintain direct pressure on D4. Now, if you're wondering why doesn't the queen maybe just go a hair back, she's not as stable on D6 compared to D8. After a couple healthy moves, knight B5 is an idea, converging on C7. Okay, in this one, back home she goes. H5, bishop G7, knight F3, and from here, black continues with C5. Now, another move the computer is drawn to, castles. Let me put this one on. Computer's eyeing up a different way to strike D4. So if first castles, and white continues with, let's say, E3 or queen D2, it's looking at E5. What's the point? Well, if you take with the pawn, you could exchange queens, follow up with knight C6, you will collect that pawn right back. And the other detail is if you capture on E5 with the knight, this is where it now wants to play with E5, immediately throwing the dark squares under fire. Okay, how it plays out in this one, we have the standard C5, D5, knight C6, no longer an option. Black immediately challenges this pawn, plays E6. Computer wants to try and resolve this tension. This is the top line in the computer's eyes. Bishop G4, do something with the H-pawn. Tell me what you're going to do. You're going to push, you're going to capture, I need to know. I'll just point out one line. If H6, it wants to exchange both bishops for the knights. So it's looking at the chop on C3 and F3, capture in either direction, wants to play the knight versus bishop position. Knight has a healthy square. Invasive pawn, is it that great of an inconvenience? Maybe not so much, with just one minor piece apiece. All right, not how it is played here. We do not see bishop G4. E6 it is. queen a4 check. In the game, bishop d7 is played. Counterpunch. If you block with the knight, there's the capture on e6 and the structure is destroyed. Isolated e6 pawn, g6 more sensitive. All right, black hits back. Move 13, queen f4. Now, the evaluation is already very good for white. It's reading about plus 1.5. And when I was preparing for this video, I was testing out, as I frequently do, many different variations, trying to find differences between top move number 1 and 2. And it's almost like with this game from this point on, it doesn't matter what top move black tries. The evaluation continually tips in white's favor, just slowly and steadily grows for white. This is an excellent position. The queen transfer right here is fantastic. Very active queen post. 2 very strong knights. Irritating d5 pawn. And this pawn here on h5 that continually makes black guess. What's going to happen? A capture, a push, that's irritating. All right, in this one, we continue with castles. So this is a move. I tested it out. Queen a5. What do you do about the pressure on c3? Computer says cut off the bishop's influence on c3 and generate a threat on f7. And after castles, take on g6 and meet this capture with queen h4, targeting this, keeping the knight defended. Black addresses the threat. You go with queenside castles. It remains an excellent position for white. Okay. We do not see queen a5. Castles it is. Queenside castles, opposite sides castles game. Follow up, capture on d5. The knight's able to recapture. It's a very strong piece. Why is black inviting the knight into his house like this? Well, this knight wants a square. Doesn't have a square to work with. Knight a6, there's a problem here on the d file. You get the capture on e6, the bishop can't recapture. So we see e takes d here. Once more, I tested out a different move, queen a5. That's not working, but by this point you don't even have to worry about the pressure on c3. You could chop on g6. And after this capture, you could go to h4 or h2. There's no time for the capture on c3, by the way, queen h6, and white will be checkmating black very soon. So this pressure on the dark squares near the white king, it's not there. In this one, we have e takes d, knight takes d, knight has a square now. Knight c6 it is. Some development, e3, bishop ready to go. You've taken away a nice square from black, d4. Follow-up is h6. Now, why is maybe h6 played? You don't want to see this pawn get to h6 at this stage. So if we revisit a queen move, let's say queen a5, targeting a2, h6 is very strong. And after the bishop backs off, knight f6. And this is going to lead to checkmate. So the queen from d8 does watch over f6. At the same time, the queen does not want to be on this file. Now, what other try is there for black? I had a look at this one. Rather than h6, what happens if bishop e6 is played? Well, not knight c7 in this position. That's one I tested out. Knight c7 would not be the correct way to react. If knight c7, there's a tactic with bishop captures b2, queen captures rook to follow. What you could play in response to bishop e6 is h6. And after the bishop moves, things are different with the pawn on h6 versus h5. This is where you can now go in for this double attack, targeting the rook and the queen. And you can welcome this trick on b2 because in the end, there's going to be a problem because of this pesky pawn. Mate shortly on g7. So tricky times ahead here for black. Very uncomfortable. We do not see bishop e6. Black prevents the pawn from being established on h6. Black plays h6. Now we see the capture on g6. F takes g. Queen g3. This is now under fire. Bishop f5 is played here. Computer is saying bishop e8 is better. All right, and this one doesn't matter. By this point, it's already lost. Bishop f5, bishop c4, a double check nearby, knight ready to drop e7 or f6. Let's get off the diagonal. King h8 it is. No matter where the king goes, it's not going to feel too comfortable. There's now a pin on the h file. Follow up, knight g5. Queen e8 is played. One more pop quiz. What is your move? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, in the game we have rook captures h6. This is not the only winning way, but certainly the cleanest way forward. Knight c7 is also winning, but it is far more complicated. Let me show you what this might look like. In response to knight c7, it says queen e5, offering a queen exchange, threatening mate as well. The only winning way for white in this position would be with a rook sacrifice that distracts or defends against the mate threat and buys white time to go hunting on the h file. It's looking at a line where you end up exchanging queens and you have a winning position here. The knight is now secure. The rook is under fire. If there's some rook c8 move, that's checkmate. All right, similar story. Knight captures bishop. Let's just see what that looks like. That's very pretty. These knights, pawns, controlling everything. Black would have to play in response to f4, rook d8, knight check, give back the exchange, and it's a winning position here without the queens. Much more complicated, as mentioned. How it plays out in this one, no fork. White does not go in for the fork here on c7. It is rook captures h6 check. Only move, pretty much, is to take the rook if you move the king. There we go. You have your pick. You want e7 or f6 for a double check mate. You have to take the rook. Bishop takes rook it is. And after rook h1, that's move 22, black resigns. What are you supposed to do? If this game continued, king g7, we would have a second rook sacrifice. Rook takes bishop is there. And now, what would you do? If you take the rook, it's a checkmate in 2. Queen h4, queen h7. Anything else to try? Sure, we can have a look in response to this move. Let's say rook h8 is played. You could exchange rooks. If king takes rook, we'll have check, check, and mate. And finally, if let's say black recaptures on h8 with the queen, we have queen c7 check, and now what? There's no intersection square for the minor pieces on the 7th rank. Any blocks, you just collect those pieces and say check yet again. If the king falls back, queen f7 is mate. And if the king steps forward, there's knight f7 with a fork, winning the queen next. What a crush. This one was a 22 mover. Grunfeld defeat. Your thoughts with this one? Feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.